Hello, horror fans, and welcome to episode 100 of Funny Books Splatter, a horror comics podcast brought to you by HorrorDNA.com. I am your host, James Ferguson. You know, in the comic book world, issue number 100 could be considered a collector's item. So, what better way to ring in this monumental occasion than by taking us back to the beginning? No, I'm not rebooting the show. When I started this podcast, I made a list of creators I wanted to talk to. The very first person on that list was Dirk Manning. He was on the first episode of the show. He was the first person I ever interviewed in my horror comics journey, so it was only fitting that his return ring in episode number 100. When Dirk and I last spoke on the podcast, he was putting together the massive Nightmare World Bible, collecting all 52 stories in his connected universe of monsters, Cthulhu, and more. Since then, he's released something like a billion comics, like Haunted High-Ons, Hope, and Tales of Mr. Rhee, with more to come, like The Adventures of Cthulhu Jr. and Dastardly Dirk, launching on Halloween ComicsFest from Source Point Press. It was awesome to catch up with Dirk again to talk about all of the many projects he has in the works. He offers a pretty unique perspective on the comic book industry, and it's always a fun chat. He's currently involved in a Kickstarter campaign to fund the release of the collection of Haunted High-Ons, and there's also a Tales of Mr. Rhee omnibus on the way. The best place to check out his work is his official website, dirkmanning.com, and be sure to sign up for his newsletter. Now that I've hit episode number 100, I am not slowing down. I've got another couple episodes recorded, and they'll be dropped in the coming weeks, not to mention a New York Comic Con special. So if you're a horror comics creator, I want to talk to you. Send me a note at james@horrordna.com or hit me up on Twitter as @JamesFerguson. All right, let's get this special foil-embossed podcast going. Here is episode number 100 of Funny Book Splatter with my guest, Dirk Manning. When we last spoke, back in episode number 1, the premiere episode of Funny Book Splatter, I believe it was during the midst of the Nightmare World Bible, all of that coming together, all 52 stories all together. And now, since then, it's been a little bit, but you've had what feels like a new comic book popping up every month or so, between, the Nightmare World is there, you've got Tales of Mr. Rhee is still kicking, you've got Haunted High-Ons, Hope, which we'll talk about separately, Dastardly Adventures, right, or the Adventures of Dastardly Dirk?
The Adventures of Cthulhu Jr. and Dastardly Dirk.
All these things popping up, and still keeping up with a relentless convention and signing schedule. Like I'm fascinated or just enthralled, but blown away by the fact that I'm even able to talk to you today anyway. Are you in between signings right now? Like how is it being? Yeah. What I like when I introduce Dirk Manning, I literally say the hardest working man in the comic book industry, because you are the road warrior. You're out there doing it. You're out there how do you juggle all these things, man?
Well, it's funny, and I feel like there's a two-part question there, so I'll give you two different answers. One, like you said, when we spoke with the Nightmare World Bible, I told people, and you and I go back, and I think I said this publicly since, but I said, man, if I can get the Nightmare World Omnibus to happen, and if I can finally get that book out, which obviously we did. We set a record at the time for Devil's Due with that Kickstarter and things like that. But I said, once Nightmare World gets off my bandwidth, and I finally have that definitive version of Nightmare World, which became the Nightmare World Omnibus, I said, the floodgates are going to open. And I told people, I said, it's not that I wasn't doing other stuff already with Tales of Mr. Rhee and some other stuff here and there. I did the Legend of Oz. I did some little stuff here and there. But Nightmare World was like your first baby going off and going to college in a way. You're graduating high school at least, whatever, and then entering the workforce, whatever. So not everyone has to go to college. But since then, and you've seen it just in the resume that you ran down, the amount of bandwidth that Nightmare World took up in my brain, these 52 interconnected stories, and then reshuffling them all and putting them out in a hardcover. Then that campaign blew up. And like I said, we set a record that stood for quite some time with Devil's Due. Getting that out of my brain and knowing that, okay, it's done. Then I could double down on Tales of Mr. Rhee, and then I could do Hope, and then I could do The Adventures of Cthulhu Jr. Dastardly Dirk, and I could, start, really pushing with the Haunted High-Ons book with Twisted, and even the stuff, coming out down the road as well. which we'll get to in time. I mean, there's plenty of current stuff to talk about, but so that was a big part of it. It was just, getting up my mental bandwidth. And then, I'm doing the right now, as this goes on the air, what I'm calling the 9 to 5 fall 2019 tour, because I'm doing 9 shows in 9 weeks in 5 states with 5 book releases during this time.
It's insane.
It's nuts. I don't know. Because before it was like I did the 24 shows in 18 weeks, which the self-professed hardest working man in comics, my friend Victor Dandridge, we ended up having a competition several years ago. I actually still have the belt right here in my office, the 8-bit belt he gave me when he retired that. But and it's one of those things where it gets to a point when no one has really been able to touch the 24 shows in 18 weeks. And that's cool, but I don't want to be accused of resting on my laurels.
I don't think anyone is using those terms to describe Dirk Manning. Like,
no, that's fair. I'm not a person that competes with other people. I really believe that there's room for everybody to eat. I think that we can all be successful, and that when we succeed individually, we can all succeed together. But I'm fiercely competitive with myself. I always want to do better. So during this crazy tour I'm doing right now, it's like we have Hope coming out. We have Hope issue 5. Tales Mystery Volume 4 is finally getting a nationwide release for Devil's Due. Haunted High-Ons, The Darkness Rises, we're doing the Kickstarter for that, the trade paperback. The Adventures of Cthulhu Jr. Dastardly Dirk is dropping on Halloween ComicsFest, so nationwide on July 6th. And then on Halloween, so Twisted, the Haunted High-Ons Kickstarter is October 1st to Halloween. Then on Halloween, I'm launching the Kickstarter for, and Source Point Press is handling the Haunted High-Ons one, but that I'm running starting on Halloween, the Kickstarter for Tales of Mystery Act 1 Omnibus, which is going to be at minimum 550 pages of content.
How much did the Nightmare World Bible clock in at?
That was 400 and
wow, so this is bigger than Nightmare World.
This will be the Mystery Act 1 Omnibus will be bigger or thicker than the Nightmare World Omnibus. My plan is to do the same dimensions and same size, and we'll see if we get to the slipcase and the leather bound and all the crazy stuff I want to do, But yeah, it will be bigger than the Nightmare World Omnibus, and that's just the first act. So if you figure Tales of Mystery,
that's what I was just going to ask. Yeah, how many acts are there? So
it'll be my intent is for it to be a 3-act, 3-act play, quote unquote. So this is Act 1, which will be the first 4 volumes.
is Seth the Moose along for the ride for the 3 acts as well?
Yeah. What we did with Volume 1 is, Josh Ross did Volume 1. Seth the Moose did all Volume 2 with Anthony Lee. I had 5 different artists do Volume 3
that's right. I'm sorry.
because we
I
did
forgot.
that. No, it's all right. But then Seth
that's
did
what I
all
thought.
Volume
Yeah, because I thought he
4.
was just on board for everything.
He did one of the stories in Volume 3 as well. So really the only one that Seth never touched was Volume 1, and that's because we were working on Nightmare World stuff back in the day. But Rhee is really, any artist that works on this book will tell you that between Seth and Josh, they're the guys. And even Josh, it's so funny, Josh acquiesces to Seth, and Seth kind of acquiesces to Josh. So it's like, because Josh was the first one to draw mystery, but Seth is the guy that's drawn mystery more than anyone. But I'm actually currently, not to get too far ahead of myself, but amongst all of this, I'm currently writing Volume 5.
You're writing Volume
now.
5.
So,
all right, Volume 5. I'm sorry, I forgot for a second. I was like, wait, 3-act structure. I'm like, Act 5. I'm like, no, that's way too far in advance. Volume 5. That's right.
So the first, Volume 5 would be the first installment of Act 2. So, but yeah, Seth is going to be back in the mix. He's been doing a couple of their books right now, which was all planned. We planned it this way. What we did with Volume 4 of Tales of Mystery, which Seth did, which again gets a nationwide release next month. You better get in comic shops if people missed a Kickstarter with that gorgeous Ben Templesmith cover. Oh my God! But with Tales of Mystery Volume 4, Everything Burns, Seth the Moose and and I really can't mention Set the Moose without also mentioning Anthony D. Lee, the colorist. They are peanut butter and jelly, man. Work together so well. When we talked a couple of years ago about doing Volume 4, he told me, he goes, I want to do a fight comic, and I want something big. He goes, this is the end of Act 1, making a big story. So we thought it'd be like 6 issues, and it ended up being the equivalent of like 10 issues. It's like a 220-page book. So we ended Act 1 with a bang. You know, we wrap up really the or bring to a satisfying conclusion, I hope, the whole Ranibus story arc in the series and things like that. So Act 1 is really that whole Rhee, Ranibus, the Promise Group, and setting the stage for the next 2 acts.
Now, I don't recall. So was Rhee Volume 4, was that published as like an original graphic novel, kind of not broken up in individual issues?
Yeah. The only one we ever did in individual issues was Volume 2. And I just found with Rhee, and I did that kind of an experiment, well, you know, because we were new at Devil's Due at that point. But I really found with Rhee, and I even find this writing Volume 5 right now, which won't be out for a year, you know. But at most, I just enjoy writing Rhee more as original graphic novels. You know, it's just, I'm about 40 pages into Rhee 5 right now, which is about the first third of that volume. And I just find that I like structuring it better, that I can have a 4-page chapter, that I can have a 15-page, you know what I mean? Just telling it a lot more organically that way. And Rhee's more of a bookshelf type of book.
Yeah, and I imagine it's easier to sell a trade and stuff. If you have the structure to put it out as a graphic novel instead of the 4 or 5 separate issues, then like I feel like that's an easier sell to the masses as well. Like, it's, as much as I love single issue floppies, like I've become a trade guy, like, because it's just I don't have the space after moving 9 long boxes from a 5th floor apartment to a 4th floor walk up apartment. Like, I was done with my single issues at that point.
Well, it really, and even if you were to take your trades and put them in like long boxes, you get so much more content because trades don't have the ads that the single issues, the floppies have. You know, but it's interesting too because at shows, at conventions, trades do infinitely better. But the problem is with comic shops, a comic shop is not going to order 5 copies of Volume 4 of Tales of Mystery. They're just not blind. They're just not. So what happens is they maybe order 1 or 2. Then if it sells, hopefully they remember to restock it. You know, or some stores have I'm getting to the point now, some stores actually have like Dirk Manning sections, which is cool. You know, and they we need to add that book back in, you know. So it's an interesting paradigm because when you look at the economics of it, which ironically is something I'll talk about in Right or Wrong Volume 2 next year, is that economics about how me and the publisher and the team don't make as much money on the single issues, the floppies, but that's what gets us the direct market penetration versus the trade where you make more money, but you make more money selling lesser units with less direct market penetration. So it gets to be this really weird dance you have to do.
You kind of need one to do the other.
And then the trade, the floppies oftentimes become a loss leader. So then you end up trying to make that money up on the graphic novels, and that's where Kickstarter then comes in. You know, and we ran into this even with Hope when we released Hope #1 for the Free Comic Book Day book, but we did that knowing that there was going to be a Kickstarter for the whole collection pretty much the same time, or then still releasing the issues monthly in stores because the Kickstarter model plays to my audience, which is considerable. And then it plays to Kaylin Smith, co-creator of the book, her audience, which is considerable. So, but there's tons of people who are discovering Hope for the first time because of the Free Comic Book Day book. And now they can go to their stores monthly and get it, and then hopefully they'll turn around and buy the trade, if they like to do that or what have you. Or maybe they got the Free Comic Book Day issue #1, then they're going to wait for the trade
it's a weird conundrum. There's no right answer to it, but like it sounds like with the various plates you have spinning, you're able to if you're doing one graphic novel here, but then you still got the single issues over there, like you can kind of mix it up to get everything done.
Well, yeah, and then even, with the Adventures of Cthulhu Jr. and Dastardly Dirk will come out, October 26th for Halloween ComicsFest. It's really amazing, and I want to give huge props to Source Point Press. I officially joined the company doing the Twisted Haunted High-Ons book with them in 2017. And then when they did their first ever Free Comic Book Day, they took they give me the Free Comic Book Day spot. They gave it to me on a book about a superhero, which is like really against form for what people expect of me. But then now they're turning around, and for Halloween Comic Fest, we're doing the first chapter, the first issue of Cthulhu Jr. for Halloween Comic Fest. So the fact that Source Point kind of made me the John Cena of the company here for a year is, dun, 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 that's fine. As long as I'm not the Roman Reigns of the company, but it's really flattering. But now in this case with Cthulhu Jr., we're doing the first issue for Free Comic Book Day, but then we're going to turn around and just release the whole book as an OGN in 2020.
That's great, because I mean that market, the kids market, is perfect for that. Like that they love the trades. Exactly. Like you got to go into. I mean, look at Dogman. Like I got my kids are devouring that book. Like, and it's ridiculous that I'm like. Yeah. Here you have like what is essentially stick figures, and it's selling millions of copies in comics, and then you have someone that's going to be out there, busting their ass drawing, incredible detailed work, and it's going to sell a fraction of that in the direct market.
Well, it's that thing where there is no spoon. I mean, it just what's good is good. It always struck me as funny about stick figures that in Nightmare World, Hungry Like the Wolf was a lot of people's favorite story, which is a Stacey Ponder drew it, a stick figure Wolfman story. And that's when I was even like afraid to show Image, like, I want to put this one in. And we did it in volume 3. He's like, I love this one. I wish you would have put it in volume 1. Like, okay. I mean, I loved it too, but so yeah, it's just, and it's always trying to like honor our retail partners, but also honor our commitment to our fan base, but honoring the commitment to ourselves too, to be able to monetize as best as possible and to be able to make more books, So it's just like you said, a lot of spinning plates. It's really interesting, and like I said, this is all not to get the cart too far ahead of the horse here, but that's gonna be stuff that next year when I finally get back to Right or Wrong and do volume 2 of Right or Wrong, that I'm going to be able to talk about that at great length about these different models and using these. And what did we learn from Free Comic Book Day versus Halloween Comic Fest versus the Nightmare World Omnibus Kickstarter versus the Tales of Mr. Rhee Kickstarter, and the Omnibus, and just really talk about all that financial aspect that goes into it, because I think it's something a lot of people don't really think
definitely.
about.
Especially with that, like juggling all those projects, it can be intimidating to dive into more than one, or even just one, but you clearly have it down to a science. So like if people haven't looked at Right or Wrong, like, well, look, the fact is that like you can't deny the output. Like, yes, I'm sure it's a ridiculous amount of work. Right. I'm sure that you put in blood, sweat, and tears to get all this stuff done. But when you look at your, like, there has to be a point where like you're like, I can't bring these books to a con anymore because there's no spot on the table.
I've actually been worried about that, because you see my table and stuff. I pride myself on having a very nice table set up, very clean. But I got to get to the point now where it's like, I always joke that people come to my table, I have these two-layer shelf. So there's like a book laying flat and a book propped up in front of it, on top of it. So and everything's very accessible. You can see whatever you want. And I joke about how I'm going to have to like build up like a third level. And eventually I want to be like, so that you literally can only see the top half of my face.
And just like your iconic picture too. That would kind of work with it.
Yeah, like the Avatar. And then eventually I want to get to the point where it's like a wall, and there's just like a little slot, like the guy the Lorax talks to, and Dr. Seuss, and like you just feed the book in, and like and you feed in the money, and I'll just sign it and then push it back out, and then I could be like at 5 conventions at one time, because you don't know who's behind that wall. It could be anybody. It could be one of my editors. It could be you. You could be Dirk Manning.
Anyone could be behind the mask.
I could just have like right. I could just have signed books back there and then just give it to people. But it's crazy, because one of my goals when I started, which seemed very lofty at the time, was I said, wouldn't it be amazing to fill a spinner rack with my own work? And I'm sitting here in my office now, and I'm looking, and I'm getting close, brother. And with like graphic novels getting close. I mean, there's some comics sprinkled in there too, but it's going to be pretty cool. Just to be a kid who used to go to the grocery store, go to the spinner rack or whatever, and pick up your books, and then just have a spinner rack of all your own graphic novels is going to be
that's great,
pretty intense.
All right, well, let's talk about one of those graphic novels to start with. So you touched upon Haunted High-Ons. You're going to launch a Kickstarter to collect that. Now that's what?
Yes.
5 or 6 issues?
Well, the Darkness Rises miniseries is 5 issues. The last issue was oversized, so we surprised everyone by giving him a larger than normal issue. I got to do a bonus story in there with Seth the Moose and Anthony D. Lee, and I got to do another little bonus vignette in there as well with Kelly Williams, who's an artist I wanted to work with for a very long time. Oh, he's so good. Yeah, he's got a book coming out through Source Point in October as well, doing a collection of the Dark. So, so good. But anyway, so yeah, The Darkness Rises is 5 issues, but we also had the one-shot before that. So really it's going to be a matter of up to the Kickstarter crowd. I mean, the trade paperback, obviously the graphic novel, or what we do with the Kickstarter exclusive hardcover, will be the 5 issues of The Darkness Rises. But if we hit a certain level in pledges, we'll put in the original one-shot too. So it could be a 6-issue Kickstarter exclusive hardcover. I hate to say, I don't hate to say this. I guess I'm proud to say this. It'll be hopefully like a typical Dirk Manning campaign about, what you can unlock. You can unlock the hardcover. You can get the bonus stuff. You can get, all that cool stuff that come with it. And you get the big box of Dirk, or in this case, a big box of Twisted, I guess. I don't know. But, so it'll be 5 issues minimum, possibly the one-shot in there as well. And then we also have an option that we're going to talk – I can't give too much away because it's theirs to reveal, but there's also some options to even add some additional content to the book.
And I'm sure that although it is theirs to reveal there, like I'm sure you're heavily involved in this whole in the whole process. You have several successful Kickstarters under your belt, so if they're not tapping into your advice, then they're doing themselves a disservice.
Well, and that's what I've been telling them the whole time. No. Well, it's interesting, because Twisted, I mean, these are not just two kids off the street, I mean, they've been making music for 20 years. So they've been making music as, longer than I've been making comics. And in the music and their new album, Generation Nightmare, when it came out, it charted on the alternative rock chart and the hip hop chart at the same time. Yeah. It's a big deal. A lot of people look at Twisted as just like, oh, weren't they like with ICP? It's like, well, they came up under ICP, but they're their own animal at this point, So they think, oh, Megadeth, aren't they that Metallica spin-off band? It's like, no. But it's interesting because in the music world, Kickstarter is a whole different animal. And there's a lot of negative connotation, I guess, with crowdfunding in music because it almost looks like – I think a lot of musicians use Kickstarter the wrong way. I'll just be blunt, But with comics, obviously, it's one of these things where we can give, the early adapters, the early backers, the deluxe version of the stuff. So we had a lot of conversations, Twisted, Magic Ninja Entertainment, and I, and Source Point about what does that look like and how Kickstarter is a direct distribution model where we can give the advanced version of the stuff to the limited edition version to the early backers while still then doing a mass release for comic book shops and things like that. But they've been very receptive. But I mean, Twisted is very, very, very protective of their brand. They have very high standards on what they do. And it's definitely been a lot of very involved conversations. But the end result is, iron sharpens iron. And I've thrown down and they've thrown down and we got in the ring and we worked it out. And I'm really happy with the way the campaign's set up. I think it's going to be phenomenal and some really cool incentives in this. And ultimately, it's a very comic book focused campaign as well, which was very important to them as well as to us.
It's really fascinating how I back a lot of comic book Kickstarters. I've only dabbled in some other stuff. I'm still waiting on my coolest cooler from 5 years ago, but I swear whenever that thing gets settled, that's going to make a fascinating documentary. But the comic book medium, really, it seems like it has flourished in Kickstarter, at least from my perspective, where it's just you can, it's like it's almost made for Kickstarter. It has a low cost of entry. you can get rewards that are reasonably priced. Like I've looked at film Kickstarters, and it's like, oh, if you donate $50, then you can, get a picture of the film or something. It's like, but like a digital copy of the film like starts at like a $100 reward tier, and oh, by the way, they're raising like $300,000. So like, all right, I'd like to actually see this, and I know that knowing that you're going to put it out on, DVD shelves, and I could buy it for $20 from Amazon if it gets made, isn't going to be much of a incentive. But like, if I'm going to pay like a couple extra bucks to get something special from Kickstarter, like that's fine. And that seems to be like the Kickstarter model. Like I know, like, and that's what happens with a lot of your stuff. Like you have an exclusive edition. Like I think, don't you usually do like the regular trade in there too?
Yeah, you can just get, usually any campaign I run, you can get the regular trade, or you get for,
the regular price
bucks,
or whatever,
whatever it is. Or $25, $30, or in the case like the Mystery Omnibus, it'll be more obviously, but you can get like the deluxe version, like the hardcover version. And it's like, I think of the new Tool album that just came out. You could get this deluxe version for like, I think it was like $45, which was a little pricey, but I was like, I don't care. Because for $45, and I have it in my hand right now, with a deluxe version of the CD, you open up this freaking case, and you get like this 36-page booklet in it, and you might be able to hear it in the background, a live exclusive video, they call it video experience, like a short film plays in your case.
That seems elaborate.
It's insane. And you get like a 36-page booklet and all this stuff. And like Adam Jones, I think, like animated this whole like 15-minute video. It's nuts. And it's sold out. Can't get any more. And it even comes with its own little aux cord so that you can like recharge it if it ever dies, But that stuff's cool, man. I love Tool. And I was like, yeah, I'll pay a little bit more for a real fancy version. But it's the same thing with Kickstarter, right? You can get the hardcover of the book. You only get it for 30 days.
Yeah.
That's it. You can't go back and get a Tales Mystery Volume 1 hardcover anymore.
I know.
They don't
Exist. I missed
the people
it.
That
all right. Rub it in. That's the one I don't have.
James. Well, let's talk off air.
I got the trade. I don't have the hardcover for that. It sticks out. I don't know what it was. I don't know if I was new to Kickstarter or whatever. I missed that campaign, and I got all the other ones since then. But like that one, I'm like, well, how the hell did I miss this? Like this was like I should have gotten this, and I don't know where the hell it happened.
I don't know. And I'll be honest with you, those are hard to get. I mean, those are like, I hardly have any. And, like I saw one on eBay or something like that, and I went to go get it, and someone else bought it before I bought it. I'm like, oh my god, because randomly you just put I don't know, I randomly put myself on eBay just to see what comes up, And I was like, oh my god, there's a Mystery Volume 1 hardcover. And I'm like, I gotta have someone to buy it for me, so like the guy's not like you're buying your own book. Well, and actually, I think it was Mike Negan from C2E2 and New York Comic Con from Reed Pop bought it, and that's how he got a Volume 1 hardcover. And I'm like, you're the one that bought it. But yeah, but it's the same thing, because like I would love to have like a hardcover run of all the Stephen King books, but I can't. Now I do have hardcovers of all the Joe Hill books, but I got it on the ground floor with him, So yeah, it's just a way to and get a little more deluxe version.
It's worth it, and it's a matter of like it's not that much more. Like whereas like I said with the movie stuff, I feel like I'm paying like 5-6 times more for the product, and I'm not getting anything special. But knowing you have this something unique to put on the shelf, like that Nightmare Word Bible is insane. Like I have no other books that are like that book, and it's just like it just stands out. Like I brought it on. I went on vacation with the family last weekend, and I'm like, well, I need something to read out on the beach. Like what am I gonna do? And I was like, I picked this up, and I'm like, I'm gonna bring this in the car, but I don't know if I'm gonna like what am I gonna do with this? Like it's like this is.
No.
It didn't get on the beach. That was like the road trip read. So like while we took turns driving. So while my wife was driving, I'm sitting in the front seat flipping through the Nightmare World Bible, and it's like this giant with the case and everything like that. And I'm like, this is
gold gilded pages and all that.
and like meanwhile like it has like written in blood on the side of the case and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm gonna have to like explain this to somebody if we get pulled over or something. But
you get pulled over, they won't give you a ticket with that book. That or depending what part of the country you're in, they will automatically arrest you. There's no middle ground. Well, and then the thing is too, going back to like the Tales of Mystery Act 1 Omnibus working title, it's like, how do we potentially top the Nightmare World Bible? Mm-hmm. What do we do? Because I mean that campaign. I mean, you guys, everyone was. I mean, it was insane. I was having to live stream from the shower. It was insane. And we got the gold gilded pages and the ribbon and the hardcover and the slipcase and the leather bound and the bonus book that comes with it and all this stuff. And you don't want to. And the Kickstarter. And you kind of hinted at this too. The Kickstarter market has changed a little bit. A lot more people are doing Kickstarters now, so it's interesting. So you're definitely competing for people's, resources, their money a little bit more. But it's like I have these ideas of what I want to do with the mystery campaign. And again, it's up to the backers about how tricked out you want this book to be. Are we going to gild it all black and have black gilded pages and the leather bound again and a slipcase and oh my God, I can't say yet. Oh, because I want to wait till I have it in hand. But the artist who committed to the cover of the mystery omnibus, lifeless moment. Lifeless
That's
moment.
Awesome.
Game-changing moment. It's pretty cool. And and then the other thing too is, looking at this stuff, again, knowing that Kickstarter is a different animal than it was a couple of years ago when we did the Nightmare World Omnibus. With the Nightmare World Omnibus, obviously I could offer readers a new reading experience. I could finally present the stories in a definitive order and stuff like that. But with Mystery, it's a linear story. But I wanted to make, I think you were busted on me online at one point, but I got all the hardcovers already, which you told you have 3 of them. But
I think I said trades in mine just to make sure I was I knew I had one.
That's right. Okay,
but that's a good point. That's something I wanted to ask you about. It's knowing that, all right, some people have 4 hardcovers already of stunning mystery work. I can understand people jumping at the opportunity to go from all right, I have the single issues, I want to get the cool exclusive trade or hardcover. So how are you going to position it to say all right, well, yeah, I know you've already bought all these cool hardcovers and this was exclusive, but now this is the next thing. This is why you want it. This is how we sweeten the pot to get you. This is better, and because I feel like that's harder.
Well, it was, and I think you and I have talked over the years about and people have asked other people as well, will you ever do a mystery omnibus? And I always said, I don't know, because I knew it's going to be a long series. I mean, if you kind of do the math, if Act 1 is 4 volumes, and even if you give or take, I mean, you're still looking at potentially, 10 to 13, 14 volumes of the series before all's said and done. 13 would be sweet, wouldn't it? We'll see. But so one of the things when I joined forces, and I should mention too that with this, I'm working with Source Point Press on the Mystery Omnibus. I was very fortunate to work with Devil's Due when I did, but my time with Devil's Due is done. I'm with Source Point now. They've been doing all my books, and I've been really, really happy in our working relationship. So what I'm doing is for the last 6 months or so, I've been working with Anthony D. Lee. He is recoloring Volume 1. Because Volume 1 of Mystery is in black and white. It's that film noir look, which I love. So what I'm doing is you can still buy the trade of Volume 1 and get that black and white film noir look. Or the omnibus only Volume 1 is going to be in full color. So that, and with Anthony D. Lee, who colored all Volume 2, who colored all of Volume 4, and colored about half of Volume 3. So it's going to have a very consistent look. And my newsletter just went out. I did a sample page in there of what the colors look like. And even for me, Tales Mystery debuted online June 6th, 2006. 666. That's Mystery's birthday. Right? It is. Then I went and then I went to the festival in Hell, in Hell, Michigan that day. With 1,000 Hell's Angels showed up. It was incredible. It's got ice cream. Hell has an ice cream shop. Look it up. It does. There is ice cream in Hell, I promise. So it's having lived with this series for over 13 years, right? It still looks brand new to me reading Volume 1 in color.
That's saying something, yeah.
I mean, and that's It is. That's no hyperbole. I mean, I'm not trying to, BS anybody. And the work that Anthony's doing, and he's a master. People don't get yet. I think they will when they see Volume 1 of Mystery. They'll finally get how good he is, and what he does with color is amazing. And you look at chapters like Bite the Apple, which is like the Antichrist kid story from Nightmare World, and some of the subtle stuff that he's doing, and we riff off each other, and it's amazing. So to get the omnibus, if you get the omnibus to really, I guess like I said, entice people into this, it's the only way you'll get the Volume 1 of Mystery in full color. We're doing just very, very minor edits on the rest of it. There'll be some Volume 2. I think there'll be minimal. We'll do a couple little color tweaks, things like that in Volume 3 and then Volume 4, and just give it all like we did with Nightmare World. We'll give it a spit shine. And the other thing is like the paper stock on these omnibuses is better. We can afford to make it a nicer paper. So I tell people it's like DVD to Blu-ray. A DVD is fine. DVDs are great. But sometimes you want a Blu-ray.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah, but this is going to be the Blu-ray. And like I said, then the cover of who's doing the omnibus. Oh my God. Oh my God.
That's okay. We'll stop you there. I know. I got you.
I mean, and again, I'm not being cute. It's one of these things where I was talking to my editor on the series. I was very fortunate to work with Leah Letterman on the first 4 mystery books. She's now doing Cthulhu Jr., doing some other stuff. I brought in Drina Joe, who worked with me on Haunted High-Ons, to move forward with mystery, and she's been working with me on Volume 5, and I was talking about the omnibus with her and stuff like that. And we were talking about cover artist possibilities. It's funny. I have a little list right here on I actually have a work board, in my office here. And my life is a series of Post-it notes, and I have my Post-it note list of artists that I would someday like to have do a cover for mystery. And we were kind of going through it, kind of talking. And I said, and then there's this one. And she goes, well, why don't you ask this person? And I said, I get, Volume 1 of Mystery has Riley Rossmo. Volume 2 has Eric freaking Powell. Volume 3 has Jason Pearson. And Volume 4 is Ben Templesmith. These are heavy hitters. And they're all people that, I've become friends with. Eric Powell tried to hit me with a chair a couple weeks ago in Texas. It was amazing. I challenged him for his belt. He didn't like that. But there's very few artists very few people that I still turn into that teenage Dirk Manning.
Yeah.
I'm like, and this person was one of them. And Drina Joe was like, this person, right? I'm like, yeah. Email them and just ask, and if not, you go from there. So I sent the 4 covers. It's a gentleman. I sent 4 covers to him, and I said, hey, here's the skinny. Here's the 4 covers. I've been a fan of yours for a very, very long time. Almost instantly, I get the response back. Yeah,
That's
man.
great.
And I was like, but still, I was like, oh my god. So it's pretty amazing. So the cover alone, I think, will definitely entice people that if you want this amazing art that's going to be delivered, you have to get the
that's true.
omnibus.
All right, man, you're doing a good job selling it. I'm with you. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
People listening to this podcast that know me real well, and I did give a very subtle hint in there when I said teenage Dirk Manning. This is anyway.
No, that's good. And that's the thing I was like wrestling with, because I'm like, well, but I got the trades. Like, what do I do? Or the collections, but that it sums it up pretty well. Like, you got there's a reason for it, and to see that as a big deal.
Yeah, better paper quality. The cover, and the big sell is going to be getting a Volume 1 in full color. I'm not going to re-release the trade of Volume 1 in Mystery in full color. It'll only be in that omnibus, because honestly, I love the work that Austin McKinley and Sean Burris did with the black and white. I don't want to erase that from history. I hate that when bands release remastered versions of albums, but then you can't get the original version. It's like sometimes I want that flat production. I want that noir look of Volume 1
I've never seen the original cut of Star Wars. You know, like it's just I've never seen it. Like it just the only versions I've ever had available to me have been like special editions or enhanced editions or all that other nonsense. So I've never seen it.
Right. No, you're unless you have a Laserdisc player or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Or, So yeah, it's that same idea. You know, I don't want to erase the work that Austin and Sean did, and that's an important part of it. And when I launched Mr. Rhee, you know, Volume 1 was intended to be black and white, but tonally, for the sake of this omnibus, having the colorist who colored 3/4 of the book to begin with, the series thus far to begin with, having him do the colors, and oh man, it's like I said. I mean, I'm looking at it with new eyes for the first time. You know, it's breathtaking. It's startling.
So. All right, so now we've covered Haunted High-Ons. We talked about Rhee, Dastardly Dirk.
Mm-hmm.
So now the plan there, you kind of touched upon it a little bit, but the first chapter will be available as a free book from Halloween ComicsFest, and then the plan is that 26th. Going to be another Kickstarter for a trade, or is that just kind of going out right out to the direct market?
You know me, James. You know damn well what I'm going to do. Similar thing. Scoot McMahon is the artist and co-creator on the book. Sean Burris, who's done some coloring on Mystery, does colors on the book. Scoot and I, at least, and I got to check if Sean can make it or not, are going to be signing at Green Brain Comics in Ann Arbor together for the release. Green Brain is people in the Midwest. It's a legendary store. Very, very, my first ever signing at Green Brain Comics. So Scoot and I will be there October 26th to do signings. And it's the first full issue. You know, we self-published the issue. We did the same thing with Hope. Kaylin Smith and I did. We self-published the first issue, and then Source Point picked up both books. We're doing the first issue for Halloween ComicsFest in October. And then I anticipate, you know, after Christmas, you know, maybe right around my birthday's into January or into February.
After you clear up the other Kickstarter, then it's.
Honestly, with the back-to-back Kickstarters at Twisted and Tales of Mystery, the Mystery Omnibus, I'm thinking like honestly, February. We'll do the Kickstarter for the deluxe version of The Adventures of Cthulhu Jr. and Dastardly Dirk. And so that'll probably be like February, is I think when we'll do that. Again, we'll offer my intent right now is to offer deluxe, you know, limited edition, 30-day only, hardcover edition of the book, some other cool extras. You know, Scoot's a maniac. He has some really cool ideas of what to do. I have some cool ideas. Source Point has some cool ideas. They see a lot of viability in this project. So we just got to kind of narrow down, you know, what to do. I don't know if you got a chance to read Cthulhu Jr.
I got the first issue at New York Comic Con. I got that and Hope at the same time. It was good. I was like, load me up with the new stuff. Like, what are we talking about?
That's right. Yeah. That's right. I thought so. You know, it's like I would love to do something. Then you'll get this joke where like we offer like Ranger cookies or something with it. But
you lost me.
Shipping. Well, in the comic, Dastardly Dirk always goes to the League of Evil and he takes his wife makes Ranger cookies.
Yeah, it's been a little while, but
the lad. Vlad's always need to go, oh, bring more of the cookies. You know, and so it'd be so funny to do something like that, but I know we can't.
Yeah.
But so
I mean,
we're looking at some
sent
very
out
cool
coffee
ideas.
for one of them, right? The Dirk coffee.
We did. We did. You're right.
Stranger
You're
things
right.
have happened.
All right. Way to call it out. Yeah, maybe we could do like just like the dry. Oh, we could be onto something, James. You know, like people like just do like the dry cookies, like you all the powder and the ingredients in like a little jar of the bag, and then you just like add water or whatever and cook them that way.
Here we go. Gears are turning.
Man, Travis hates you, man.
So I'll hold off on releasing this podcast until you guys have that chat.
Right. Like Travis, Dr. James Ferguson, Funny Books Planet. Greatest idea. Because people read the book. Oh, no, he'll know. If he doesn't know yet, he'll know now. People always ask me when they read Cthulhu Jr., like, what are Ranger cookies? And I'm like, they're the best. My great-grandma used to make Ranger cookies. Do you guys have Ranger cookies out there?
No, I haven't heard. That's why I was like, I don't remember this at all.
Yeah. It's a very particular kind of cookie. I mean, you obviously you look it up online. And then one of my buddies out west said they call them what the heck do they call them? Some other different name. They're like, oh, it's these. But anyway, yeah. But obviously with The Adventures of Cthulhu Jr. and Dastardly Dirk, as the name implies, it's an all ages book, and it's genuinely an all ages book. You know, it's funny when I first pitched the book to Scoot, and we started talking about it. Working with Scoot is so amazing. You know, my relationship with how I work with Seth versus how I work with like Mariana and Alessandro, you know, versus how I work, you know, on Haunted High-Ons, versus how I work with Kaylin Smith on Hope, and versus how I work with Scoot on Cthulhu Jr. It's different for everybody. You know, obviously all dynamic personalities, and a lot of us are very big personalities. But working with Scoot is so smooth, man. Scoot is just such a pro. And not that they're not at all pros, they all are pros, but we just click. We just speak the same language, I guess, the best way to say it. And we actually plotted out all of Cthulhu Jr., all 5 issues, in like a 2-hour car ride. And like that was like the beats, man. Like that was it. You know, it was done. I mean, you know, because we just riff, we just click, we just get it. You know, and then a lot of work goes into actually scripting it, but it's just that smooth. And he's a phenom when he draws. Like, have you ever got a chance to see him in New York?
I'm sitting in my office. I have a framed picture he drew of Milo the Mummy from Wrapped Up. From 2017. So like I was talking with him and Dave about that book, and I loved that book because it was just so fun, ridiculous, and crazy. But like I was sitting there talking with him, and he was just casually drawing this, like, and it seemed like it took him like 3 seconds. He's like, oh, here you go, and like I wasn't even paying attention to what he was doing there, and then all of a sudden he just flipped around this page, and I was like, oh, this is beautiful, thank you.
And it's the same quality stuff he does. Yeah, like we'll be sitting there talking, and I'll walk away with like 5 sketches of like Dirk Manning or stuff like that, all this crazy stuff. I think he has that weird like way of drawing where it's like upside down kind of. Have you ever watched, like, the reason you don't notice he's drawing is because he just has a very interesting way he holds his pen. And I don't know, I'm making the motion right now that I realize now that no one can see it. I just look like an idiot. But you know, he's just a phenom, man. And his style is just very animated, very fun. And so we're going to do some really cool stuff for that Kickstarter as well. But then again, drop the book in the mass market after that as well, while honoring the fact that Diamond, and again, there's people that poo-poo Diamond and stuff like that, or, you know, it's always fun to beat up Diamond, but Diamond's been really good to me, and they've been really good to Source Point. You know, they gave us, you know, free comic day opportunity. We rocked that out. I got to go speak at the Diamond Retailer Summit. They didn't throw me out. When I went up there, I don't know what the hell I was thinking, but I did it. I don't know what Travis
that got tons of great press. I mean, it was this like dawn of a new age kind of thing coming out of that. So I mean, it was weeks I was seeing links to that speech you gave.
When Gail Simone tweeted me out, that was pretty incredible. You know, that was pretty amazing. I have a lot of respect for Gail and for her to shout me out, you know, but yeah, because, you know, the Diamond Retailer Summit, what it is, you know, the store owners are all there, and they have you in a big dark room, and everyone gets up there, and they run these videos. That was the thing this year. It was everyone had a video for all their books. And the thing is, I'm not here to see a video. I want to know about your comics. And if that's great, if you have a video of your comic, show me the goddamn book, man. That's what I want to see. And I didn't have a video package. I had an old school PowerPoint, and I went up there, and it was just no BS. And I'm like, look, man, Detroit hustles harder. This is what we do. And what's so funny is, you know, and when I was in Vegas for the Diamond Retailer Summit, I was giving up Motor City Comic Con in Detroit, or in Novi, just outside Detroit, which is my hometown show. I gave up my hometown show, one of my hometown shows, to go to Vegas to talk to all the retailers about what all the good stuff Source Point Press is doing. And I told them then, I said, we're doing a book with Twisted. Juggalos by Comics, friends. I said, we're doing a book with Billy Bob Thornton. We got this book, Hope. And since then, a lot of the Source Point titles have been selling out left and right. But when I was telling the retailers, I said 2 things. I said, right now, as I stand here talking to all of you, Source Point Press is at 5 different conventions right now because our creators run our tables.
Yeah, I've been to I've met a number of creators at the Source Point Press booth, because it's like, yeah, this is my book, but then also here's another book you might like, and here's another book you might like, and it's just it's a great like community or collective setup there. Right.
We're like communists. We all support
I
each other.
I just spoke with Tim Bach, who wrote The Family Graves. So and he was experiencing that firsthand about this kind of like, it's like this hand selling kind of thing, but you're also like part of this community, and everyone's in that together. It's great.
Well, yeah, like I said at the beginning, it's like there's room for everybody at the top. There's room for all of us to grow. And I went up when I was in Vegas. I went up there and I told the retailers, I said, we do all these shows. And I told them, I said, I do 25 shows a year. I told them, I'd rather be home writing. But the thing is, I would want to send people to your store to buy my books, but then you have to have them. So, and if you don't have them, guess what? My books are represented at 5 different locations across the country right now. They will get them somewhere. And I walked off stage and I'm like, well, and I was polite, but I was just real. I was pragmatic. I'm like, our books sell. I told him, I said, I don't do 25 shows a year because I don't sell books. I sell a lot of books. My books sell really well. You may not know who I am because you don't carry them, but you know what? I'm underground. As in Source Point is underground. But now that we're starting to sell out books left and right and things like that, Frank Gogel's Dead Kid sold out. Ogre sold out. Every issue of Haunted High-Ons sold out. Hope Number 1, Free Comic Book Day. Boom, gone. The issues are selling out since then. It's funny, but when I walked off stage, man, I'll tell you what, after just having that talk with all these retailers, I was like, well, they're either going to get what I was saying and they're going to, or not. And luckily they responded well. And I was afraid to go online afterwards, but people just said, wow, I mean, he just went up there and kept it real. And that's the name of the game. There's, Rotten Tail got made into a movie with Cora Nemec. Why doesn't every freaking comic shop have copies of the Rotten Tail trade from Source Point Press? Come Easter, you better have that book on your shelves, because I guarantee you, with Rotten Tail being an Easter horror movie, it's going to be on television. It's going to say based on the comic book. And if they go to a comic book shop and they don't have Rotten Tail, we all know what you're going to do. What do you do when you can't find a comic at a comic shop? You either go to a con and get it, or you go on Amazon.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, but take the risk. Don't sit on 35, 40 copies of some crossover book from one of the big 2 publishers that you're going to end up remaindering out for a quarter later. Order a couple less of those and order some new stuff and see what happens, So anyway,
it's right, and that's like I love that space, because more things are possible. You're going to work harder and you're going to like it more. I feel. It's really interesting. So, but no, like that's the kind of like great positive, not to like play the wrap it up box, but I mean, like, that's, I don't know where else to go from that, like, that's such a great uplifting and positive way to kind of wrap us up here. But the best places to find you, Dirk, are usually the website, right? DirkManning.com.
DirkManning.com has my updated tour schedule, so you can see what I'm going on there. If you go look on DirkManning.com right now under Sang's appearances, you will see where I'll be schluffing my corpse for the rest of this tour. At this point, I think at this point, depending when this goes up online, I've got Cincinnati, Ohio coming up, doing a Hall of Fame con, one-day show in Canton, Ohio, then not terribly far from Cincinnati. Then from there, I'll see you at New York Comic Con, Ace Comic Con Chicago after that, Fantasticon Mount Pleasant, then Halloween ComicsFest, Ann Arbor, Michigan. Then I'm bouncing down to Florida for the first time. Spooky Empire, man, the dark side of Comic Con. And then jumping back to the Midwest for Akron and Grand Rapids, and I don't know. I'd like to say I'll probably take a nap at that point, but
yeah, you can sleep when you're dead. Is that the deal?
That's the plan, man. But yeah, DirkManning.com has all my touring info and just general updates.
And I want to make sure we plug the newsletter, because not only are your updates in on your website, but it's also in the newsletter, and as well as just like I feel like I signed up to a bunch of newsletters, and I get a lot out of your newsletter. It makes sense. It's like, all right, here's an update. Here's everything you need to know about what's going on with your new books, where to get them, places you're going to be. It's concise. It's to the point. It's not like bombarding your inbox by any stretch. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Some people send out newsletters like every week. I don't get it. And then I don't always read them. You know, I always send my newsletter out the first week of every month. I do once a month. And you can sign up for the newsletter right on the website. It's one of those things where, to me, I think once a month, it's my chance to talk to people. You know, social media, there's only so much you can say on Instagram. Stuff gets buried in the algorithms on Facebook. Even in the Facebook group, stuff gets tricky sometimes. It's like, in a way, it's almost my commitment to my readers who sign up. And, you know, I was like, once a month, I'm going to let you know what's going on. I'm just going to say hi. Here's what I'm doing. You know, I'm sitting here I'm in the office pounding on my keyboard, and here's what's shaking. Yeah, I'm releasing 5 books during these 9 weeks, and I'm jumping around in 5 different states. I know I'm crazy. Just bring me ice cream, please. Yeah, but so thank you. The newsletter, I've been doing it for a couple of years now. I've never missed a month. We do it once a month. That's it. So you can sign up for the newsletter. You won't get any spam. All killer, no filler. You know, the only time I ever send a second newsletter is when I launch a Kickstarter. I do a little blast. By the way, here's the link. If you're new to Kickstarter, here's what you need to know.
There you go.
In a month. Oh. And then social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Dirk Manning. Just look for the guy with the top hat and scarf.
Cool. I mean, yeah, Dirk, I like I've said before, I think, you know, when I started this show, I thought about who I want to reach out to, where do I want to go with this, and literally the very first person I thought of was Dirk Manning. So
I really appreciate it. And now, and James, sincerely, 100 podcasts is pretty amazing, bro. So, I mean,
thank
really,
you. Yeah, it took a little while, but yeah, I'm rolling into number 100. That's a collector's item in the comic book stand.
There you go. Right. I feel like I'm I don't want to wait another 100 episodes to come back, though. You know, it got to the point where we a joke between you and I about, we're gonna come back, and then I'm like, wait, you're 15 away from 100.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but look, as
New York, we'll have to see if we can arrange some sort of present for you.
Well, look, as far as I'm concerned, you have an open door. So whenever you want to come on and chat about anything, you know, when the next Kickstarters are coming up, you know, hit me up. We'll definitely chat again. We'll have a little catch up, focus on a couple of things. What I also have been kicking around the idea of having like mini little comic panels where it's like, you know, get a couple of like-minded horror folks together and just like have them gab about the latest stuff that's going on in the industry or the horror genre and stuff, which I thought would be kind of funny.
Well, right. Even like, you know, you got like the horror heavy metal thing. It's like, God, I mean, we talk about, the horror. We're living in a renaissance of horror films right now. The new Tool album came out. The new Slipknot record came out. I mean, there's anytime, James. I'm saying this on the air, on record. You know, anytime, you know, I will make the time. I'm making the time for you with this crazy Tuesday right now.
I very much appreciate it.
100 podcasts is a big deal, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate all your listeners. I mean, you have some amazing listeners out there and stuff like that. So all of you listening, thank you. And James, seriously, this is no small feat. And much like you gave me some really big props on how writing comics is a lot more than writing, interviewing on a podcast is a lot more than interviewing. And your dedication to promoting good horror is genuinely, sincerely appreciated. And thank you for what you do.
Aw, shucks.
I know, so I shouldn't say. Sorry.
No, yeah. So anyway, blood and guts. Ooh, gore.
Blood, gut, gore.
All right, but so that'll wrap us up then. I'm blushing. That was Funny Book Splatter episode number 100. I have been James Ferguson with my guest, the one and only Dirk Manning. You've been listening to Funny Book Splatter, a horror comics podcast brought to you by HorrorDNA.com. We have been bringing you the best in horror since 2002. If you like the show, please help me out by leaving a positive review on Apple Podcasts. You can subscribe to the show via iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Play. I am always looking for new guests, so if you have a horror comic, I want to hear from you. I don't care if you're a seasoned pro or a first-timer. You can find me on Twitter as @JamesFerguson or via email at james@horrordna.com. In addition to comics, we cover movies, TV shows, books, and video games. We've got news, reviews, guest features, interviews, unboxing videos, and so much more. Check us out at horrordna.com and at horrordna on Twitter.